without that, let's start with frequently asked home buyer questions. We got a list here. We'll just ask them and we'll bang out the answers.
These are the ones that we come across most frequently. So if you have any other ones, feel free to ask us in the comment section as well.
Yes, absolutely. Good point. Number one, should I talk to the bank before looking at homes?
I think this is kind of controversial, but I would say yes.
Yeah? Why is that controversial?
I don't know, because sometimes it depends on the market too. Sometimes you just want to get out there and you want to know what you can play around with. But I would say you would always go to the bank, because you need to know exactly what you're working with, and you don't want to be looking outside of your means.
Yeah, exactly. I think 100% talk to somebody at the bank first. Make sure you at least have an idea, because there's nothing worse than looking at houses that are priced, maybe higher than your budget. Then when you find out your budget, you find out you can't afford it. That's super heartbreaking.
I think another point to that too, as well, is that as the interest rates change, you could be playing with different numbers as well.
Absolutely, because pre-approvals only extend out, I think, to 120 days. So you have to make sure that you stay on top of that.
And we've said this before, you have to close
in the 120 days.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Should I buy or continue to rent? This is a huge question. I mean, we could probably make a whole episode about this one.
Absolutely.
Really quickly, I think that you have to do whatever is right for you.
Yeah.
Not everybody's meant to be a homeowner. Not everybody wants home ownership. Some people just want to kind of be nomadic, move around, that sort of thing, not have commitments or have to maintain a home.
For sure.
But if you're looking at it from a financial standpoint, I mean, if you look at our episode, was it last week we talked about, no, 2 weeks ago. If you look at the episode from 2 weeks ago, we actually talked about this a little bit, where if you break down renting versus owning a house over 25 years, financially, how much better off you're going to be just based on the pay down in the mortgage, right?
Exactly.
And as we mentioned last week, there's always the option, if you can only afford to purchase a home in an area that you don't want to live in, you could always purchase that home and rent it out, but then rent in a neighborhood that you want to live in.
Yeah.
Number 3, I own a home. Should I buy another before selling my current home?
I think this is market dependent.
It is, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it's always your tolerance too. Like, it goes either way. If you buy before you sell, then you're under the gun to sell. So you may end up taking less for your house. If you end up selling first, then you got to make sure you kind of have a contingency of where you're going to go in case the home that, your dream home doesn't pop up. Because you don't want to buy a house that you're not like in love with, right? Just to buy a house.
Yeah, I think there's also those people who really got lucky and sold in that peak in February, and we're dealing with all those buyers right now.
Yeah, if you sold in the peak and buying now, I mean, that's definitely right now a great opportunity. Let's see, do I need a realtor when buying a home? No brainer. Yes.
Obviously.
We're not going to say no.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a huge advantage. Number one, it's free to work with a real estate agent when you're purchasing a home. Doesn't cost you anything. Plus, you get access to all of our data, our system, all of our knowledge of the neighborhoods. Especially, when you're working with realtors from that geographic location, like
most importantly,
it's been working with the right realtor is good. Like, to follow up on that, if you're buying in Hamilton but you're working with a Toronto agent, it almost doesn't make sense because they don't understand the nuances of the market here like we do. Yeah,
we have no shame referring you out too if that's beyond our scope of area. We think we want you to be with the best person in that area as possible.
Yeah, it's true. I've turned business down that's even in Cambridge and stuff, because I feel like I don't really know that area, so I'll give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Who pays the realtor fees when buying a home?
Yeah, so this kind of leads off of the last one. Buyers, you don't have to pay anything.
So we get paid by the sellers.
Yes.
It's when the seller signs the listing agreement with the listing agent, at that time they determine how much they want to pay out, as a commission. So we get, it's sort of almost like a finder's fee is what the buyer's agents get. So working with us is free because we get paid by the sellers. So it's a huge advantage to you.
Yeah.
How many homes should I look at before putting in an offer?
Well, I almost think this is kind of market dependent as well, because before you didn't really have as much time. If you saw something, it was kind of like a trigger reaction. But now I find buyers have a little bit more of a leniency.
Yeah, and it's completely person dependent, like individual dependent too. I've had people that have purchased the second home that they've seen.
Yeah, that's
I've
true.
had people that I've shown 50 homes to, over
Yeah.
the course of 5 years before
Yeah.
they purchase
Yeah.
something. So
Some people really know what they like, and some people they find out as they go.
yeah, and that's the biggest thing, especially with first-time home buyers. Like, don't be scared. If you find a house that is perfect for you on the first day out and it ticks all of the boxes, don't be scared to make that offer.
Yeah.
Because you might be kicking yourself down the road
Yeah,
if you
just
missed
maybe
out
do
on
your
it.
due diligence on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long does the seller have to respond to my offer? So this one is offer dependent. You as the buyer, we as the buyer's agents, we give that timeline to the sellers on when we want a response. So say we saw a house in the afternoon, you like it, we could give them till midnight to respond. We could give them till noon the next day. Sometimes we're dealing with sellers that are out of country, so we need 48 hours for them to respond to that offer. So
Yeah.
sometimes we'll need to do that. So that's sort of a case by case scenario. But I'd say most common, is probably 12 hours. Unless you're showing a house late at night, it might be the next night, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
What if my offer is rejected? So,
I guess you can do a few things there.
Yeah.
So if your offer is rejected, you can, they can counter you. They can just reject it and say, that's it, we're not taking it again. Or you can offer another offer. But
yeah, so just because your offer is rejected doesn't mean you can come back to that house. You can absolutely make another offer on that property. If there was a reason they rejected it, maybe improve on that. But doesn't mean that it's the end of the deal just because
No.
it's rejected. It's
Exactly.
definitely, we can always come back and attempt another offer. Usually the most times I see an offer rejected is either because of the price is probably the number one reason we see rejected offers.
Yeah.
Number two, I would say it is the
Well-
can be conditions like a sale of
Yes.
property condition, which is like a 30-day condition.
Yeah.
But I guess, I don't know, I guess we can explain that.
I
a
would
bit,
say when
but-
the market was hotter, I was having offers rejected on financing because why would I take yours? There's a million other on the table that don't have that. Now, even conditions, financing, all those guys, whereas now there's a little more leniency in the market.
Yeah, for sure. Do I have the option to do any inspections? Of course, yeah. Offer dependent again.
Yeah. I'm the biggest fan of pre-inspections.
You love them, but you know what?
Pre-consults.
Yeah,
sorry.
but
Stuart would kill me on.
He'd kill you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, watch that episode with Stuart. It's actually super informative. One of our earlier episodes, I forget the episode number, but Stuart, the home inspector. Go back to our content, you'll see it.
Yeah, he's a character.
He is. He's a talker, that's for sure. But even now, we're getting offers accepted conditional on home inspection.
Yeah.
So you have your 5 business days to go in there, bring an inspector. The good thing with a home inspection afterwards, you have 3 options. One, if the inspection comes back really bad, you can walk from the property. Or you can come back to the sellers, negotiate money off the price to cover the repairs, or you can negotiate for the sellers to do the repairs. But that's the benefit of that home inspection condition. So yeah, absolutely, you can do that. Do I need a final walkthrough?
I would highly recommend a final walkthrough. Usually we do 3 visits, and that's usually put in the offer. The final one is like, is there anything left that you could check? Check all the water. I had an issue with that with a client in the winter. The pipes burst on us and nothing was on, and there's just nothing we could do about it, but just being really diligent with every little thing in the house. Like, take your time, walk the outside, walk the inside, turn everything on.
Absolutely, because that's your last chance. Because once you close on the property the next day, say your fridge is broken, you don't really have recourse for that. So you want to make sure that everything that is supposed to be working in that offer is in working order. So yeah, final walkthrough is super important. When is the closing date? Now, this is something I actually find myself explaining quite a bit. What a closing date even is.
Yeah,
if you're a
fair
first-time buyer,
Yeah.
the closing date or completion date, that's basically the day that you get the keys. That is also the day that your mortgage takes effect.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. And that closing date can really be any time. If you're buying a house, usually it'll be a little seller dependent. The seller might want, say they haven't purchased a house. They might not want to close for 3 months.
Yeah.
Or say they purchased something, they need to close quick. It might be 30 days. I'd say the average amount of time for a closing would be about 60 days, so 2 months.
Yeah.
But anything from 30 to 120, we see that range super often.
I'm seeing the range get a little bit longer now. Before I was closing houses on a month.
Yeah.
A month I was closing.
That's true. I actually did one 15 days this year. It was,
Really?
15-day close.
Crazy.
Yeah. So I guess that's our frequently asked home buyer questions, the top ones that we could find. As well, like Brandy mentioned earlier in the video, if you have any questions you want us to answer with the home buying process, we are more than happy to assist you with that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, pop those in the comments below.
Taking down.